Today we are dividing decimals, and we really need to draw when we are dividing a decimal by a decimal on a knowledge of the powers of tens. To start us out, we're going to review what we did in elementary school around 5th grade time when we have a decimal divided by a whole number. If you look in your notes, I gave you the steps. We really want to understand what's going on in those steps, but it says set up the division problem using the division box. And I gave you a really simple division problem, 24 divided by 6, and showed you how it would look in a division box. The next step says divide. So with this problem, 21 and 6/10 divided by 9, we first need to get it inside the division box. This first value, 21 and 6/10, that's my dividend, so that's what's going to go inside the division box. 9 is my divisor. That's what's going to go outside. Now, I can just divide. I have 2 tens to divide in 9 groups. How many are going to be in each group? I don't have enough for each group. So I've used 0 of those 2 tens. They're going to stick with me. I'm going to break them into 21s and bring down my 1 I already have. So 21 ones to divide into 9 groups. How many are going to be in each group? 2. I've used 18. That means I have 3 left over. I have reached my decimal point, so I'm just going to bring it straight up and I'm going to move to the next room. I'm looking at the tenths room. I have these 3 ones left over. I'm going to snap them into 30 tenths and bring down my 6 tenths I already have. 36 tenths divided by 9 is going to give me 4 tenths in each group. Use 36 of them. I have nothing left. So the quotient for this answer is 2 and 4 tenths. Let's do the next one. 1 800 divided by 5. We want to start, the first step, set up that division problem using the division box. So I need to figure out what value is going to go inside my division box. Which one of these values is what I have to divide out? It's my dividend. That would be 1 800. And you can see in my example, if you blank out on which value goes in here. If you look up in the steps, I did share 24 divided by 6, and I did show you putting that in the division box. That means 5 is my divisor, and now I get to divide. I have 1 to divide into 5 groups. How many are going to be in each group? I don't have enough for each group, so 0 of them. That 1 is still going to be left over. Bringing my decimal point straight up, I'm going to take that 1 and I'm going to break it into 10 tenths. Moving to my tenths room now. 10 tenths divided by 5. How many are going to be in each group? 2. There's going to be 2 tenths in each group. That means I've used 10 of them. I have nothing left over. I'm not done. I still have a digit in a room that I haven't gotten to. And if I ignore this digit, I would be ignoring the whole value of this number. So I need to move to the hundredths room, bringing down the 800ths that I have. 800ths to divide into 5 groups. How many hundredths will be in each group? 1. I've used 5 of them. I have 3 left over. I'm not done. Thank goodness we talked about annexing zeros earlier this year. If I put a 0 here, I'm annexing it. It's not changing the value of my dividend. These 3 hundredths, I'm going to break them into 30 thousandths. 30 thousandths divided by 5, or 30 thousandths to share amongst 5 groups. How many are going to be in each group? 6. That means I've used 30. Now I'm done. I've reached 0. Nothing left over. So the correct quotient is 216 thousandths. So now that we have reviewed dividing a decimal by a whole number, let's work on dividing a decimal by a decimal. This example is not in your notes on the back side, but just listen for a minute. Here I have a very basic division problem, 2 divided by 1, and the quotient of that would be 2. I could change this division problem if I think of the decimal point in 2 is right here. If I move it 1 place to the right, and I do the exact same movement here to the right, the new problem would be 20 divided by 10, right? 2, and you move the decimal 1 place to the right, you're multiplying by 10, that would give you 20. 1, you move the decimal 1 place to the right, you're multiplying by 10, that would give you 10. And this quotient is also 2. Since I multiplied both the dividend and divisor by the same power of 10, my quotient remained the same. And that's what we're going to practice. So going to our notes, if you look at the steps that I have laid out for you, steps are nice, but we want to understand what we're doing in the steps. Read through those to yourself right now. So we have 8 and 89 hundredths divided by 7 tenths. First, if you look at our steps, we need to set it up using the division box. So let's do that. 8 and 89 hundredths goes inside. 7 tenths goes on the outside. Now, this problem is slightly awkward. I'm not used to seeing a decimal as my divisor, and I can change that. I can go, hey, if I move this decimal place 1 point to the right, and I move this decimal point 1 point to the right, see how I did it both the same amount of times? I'm actually going to maintain equality here. So my new problem would look like this. 88 and 9 tenths divided by 7. Make sure you have this on your paper. I'm going to erase this so that we don't have so much to look at. This division problem is going to give me the exact same quotient that this division problem would. And that's because I multiplied both the divisor and the dividend by the same power of 10. I moved the decimal 1 time to make it 7, moved the decimal 1 time to make it 88 and 9 tenths. So now we can go ahead and divide through. 8 tenths to divide into 7 groups. There's going to be 1 tenth in each group. I've used 7. I have 1 left over. Break it into 10 ones and bring down my 8 ones I already have. There's going to be 2 ones in each group. I've used 14. There's going to be 4 ones left over. I've reached my decimal point, and those 4 ones that I have left over, I'm going to break them into 40 tenths and bring down my 9 tenths. So I have 49 tenths to divide into 7 groups. There's going to be 7 in each group. I've used 49, and I'm done. I have nothing left over. This right here is the correct quotient to this problem. Don't believe me? Divide it out. On your Chromebook right now or on a calculator, type in 8n 89 hundredths divided by 7 tenths. You're going to get 12 and 7 tenths. Power of tens are really, really important and really, really helpful. Let's do the next example. So we have 17 and 5 tenths divided by 5 tenths. First, let's set it up using the division box. So 17 and 5 tenths is going to go inside. It's what I have to divide out. It's my dividend. And 5 tenths is going to go on the outside. Now again, I have a decimal divided by a decimal. It's awkward when my divisor is a decimal. So we can use our knowledge of power of tens. Move the decimal 1 time to make it a whole number. Since I moved the decimal once here, if I move it once here, my division problem is going to work out nicely. So I can rewrite it as 5 goes into 175. This quotient is going to be the exact same thing as this quotient. So then dividing it out, I have 100, one of them, to divide into 5 groups. There's going to be 0 in each group. That 100 is left over. Break it into 10 tens and bring down my 7 tens I already have. So 17 tens divided into 5 groups. There's going to be 3 in each group. I've used 15. I have 2 tens left over. Break it into 20 ones and bring down my 5 ones I already have. 25 ones divided into 5 groups. It's going to be 5. Use 25. Nothing left over. I'm done. And this is an annex 0. It's not changing the value. It's not bumping any digit out of its room. The correct quotient is 35. So the main thing I want you to take away from this is when we're dividing decimals, when we're dividing a decimal by a decimal, if our divisor is a decimal, make it become a whole number. Move that decimal however many times you need to make it become the smallest whole number possible. Then do the exact same thing to your dividend. Move this the same number of times as you move this.